Have you ever felt like you weren't enough? Like the weight of someone else's expectations was just too heavy to carry? I have for a long time. The word disappointment echoed in my ears. It wasn't just a word. It was a label, a heavy coat I was forced to wear every single day. It came from people whose opinions I valued, people I looked up to, and hearing it, it broke something inside me. For a while, I believed them. I started seeing myself through their eyes, a failure, someone who just couldn't get it right. My confidence crumbled. I'd start projects with enthusiasm, only to hear that nagging voice in my head, "You're just going to mess this up anyway. You're a disappointment." It was paralyzing. I became afraid to try, afraid to dream, because what was the point if I was destined to fall short? This feeling followed me everywhere. In school, I'd hesitate to raise my hand, even when I knew the answer. In social situations, I'd stay quiet, convinced my thoughts weren't worth sharing. I was living in a cage built by someone else's words, and I had started to believe I belonged there. The world seemed bright and full of opportunities for everyone else, but for me, it was just gray. One day I looked in the mirror and I barely recognized the person staring back. The spark in my eyes was gone. All I saw was defeat. And in that moment, something shifted. It wasn't a sudden burst of lightning, but a slow, quiet burn. A question started to form in my mind. Whose life am I living? Theirs or mine? Am I going to let their definition of success dictate my entire existence? That was the turning point. I realized that their disappointment was about their asterisk expectations, not my worth. They had a picture of who I should be, and when I didn't fit into that neat little box, they labeled me. But their picture wasn't my reality. My path was my own to walk. My story was my own to write. So, I made a choice. I decided to stop listening to the echoes of their judgment and start listening to the quiet whisper of my own heart. It was terrifying. It meant letting go of the need for their approval, something I had craved for so long. It meant being willing to fail, but on my own terms. I started small. I picked up an old hobby I'd abandoned because I was told it was a waste of time. At first, that critical voice was still there, louder than ever. But I kept going. Every time I finished a small task, every time I learned something new, I would consciously tell myself, "You did that. That was you." I was essentially reparenting myself, giving myself the encouragement I never received. It was a slow, deliberate process of rebuilding my self-worth from the ground up. I started setting my own goals, not the ones others had set for me. They were small at first. Read one chapter of a book, go for a 10-minute walk, finish a small project. Each completed goal was like laying a new brick in my foundation of self-belief. I also had to change my environment. I distanced myself from the people who consistently made me feel small. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, but it was necessary for my own well-being. I started seeking out people who were supportive, who celebrated small wins, and who understood that the journey is just as important as the destination. This new community showed me what genuine support felt like, and it was life-changing, of course. There were setbacks. There were days I slipped back into old thought patterns, days when the word disappointment felt very real again. But the difference was, now I had tools to fight back. I would remind myself of how far I'd come. I would reach out to a supportive friend. I would look at the evidence of my progress, the tangible things I had accomplished since I started this journey. The biggest shift happened when I stopped trying to prove them wrong and started trying to prove myself right. The motivation was no longer about showing them what they had missed out on. It was about showing myself what I was capable of. The focus turned inward. My success became a personal conversation between me and my potential. And you know what happened? I started to flourish. The things they called distractions became my passions. The paths they called dead ends opened up into incredible opportunities. I found a career I love, one they never would have approved of. I built relationships based on mutual respect and kindness. I discovered a strength in myself I never knew existed because I was too busy looking for validation outside of myself. Today, my life isn't perfect. No one's is, but it is mine. It's a life built on my own values, my own dreams, and my own definition of success. The word disappointment no longer has any power over me. It's just a word from a chapter of my life that is now closed. If you're hearing those same echoes, if you're carrying a label someone else gave you, please hear me, that is not who you are. Their judgment is a reflection of their own limitations, not yours. Your worth is inherent. It is not something you have to earn or prove. Start today. Take one tiny step toward reclaiming your story. Pick up that paintbrush, write that first sentence, sign up for that class. Do it for you. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove to yourself that you are, and always have been, enough. Let your journey be your answer. The best revenge isn't a loud comeback. It's a quiet, happy, and fulfilling life lived on your own terms. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If this resonated with you, I'd be so grateful if you'd like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Your journey matters. Keep going.